Sir, Yoganand sir, good morning.
Hello, madam. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Morning, sir. Sir, our Vice Chancellor, sir, will be joining within 10 minutes. We'll start as soon as he joins, sir.
Definitely.
Good morning, Anand.
Good morning, madam.
Good morning.
Participations చాలా బాగా వచ్చారు మేడం. 300 above.
Malipriya ma'am, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am, I'm ready, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am.
Okay. Good morning. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Andy. Dr. KJ Rani.
Shall we start, sir?
Yeah, please.
Fine, sir. Thank you. Shall we start, sir?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Malipriya ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Esteemed Vice Chancellor and Chief Guest of today's webinar, Professor M. Jagannath Rao Garu, Honorable Registrar and today's webinar guest of honor and EC member, Professor T. Ashok Garu, respected NSS coordinator and convener of today's webinar, Dr. B. Kejarani ma'am, respected principals of campus colleges, Dr. K. Ramneshwari Garu, principal of University College of Science and Technology, Dr. V. Persis Garu, and principal of University College of Engineering, Professor S. Teki sir, principal of University College of Arts and Commerce, Professor K. Subbarao Garu, principal of University College of Education, Special Officer of MSN Campus, Kakinada, Dr. K. Kamalakumari ma'am, Special Officer of Tadepalli Gudam Campus, and also the EC member, Professor K. Ramesh Garu, EC member Dr. B. Jaganmohan Reddy Garu, Deans, our today's webinar resource person, Mr. M. B. Yoganand Garu, Software Architect, IBM, all the principals of affiliated colleges, faculty, NSS volunteers, students. Good morning, all of you. On behalf of NSS Adhika Nana University, myself, Dr. V. Mallipriya, NSS PO, University College of Science and Technology, welcome you for a one-day webinar on Absolute Docker's Kubernetes CP4D, a journey towards cloud platforms. A few points about Adhika Nana University. Adhika Nana University was established on April 2006. This university aims to combine the pristine cultural and contemporary demands of educational excellence in its vision. To uphold the simple but profound motto, Sarvatra Vidya Vardhate Praja, expands to education leads to enrichment of the people. Adhika Nana University will nurture its students as the citizens of the globe on the rich fundamentals of Indian culture while respecting all its diverse ideas. The university is committed to achieve its mission through outstanding research and scholarship education and practice by free exchange of ideas with the support of its ethical, interdependent, diverse community of faculty, staff, students, and alumni. About NSS, the NSSL of Adhika Nana University comprises of 290 units with over 29,000 volunteers offering their services across East and West Godavari districts. The NSSL represented the university in the Republic Day Parade of Republic Day Celebrations 2020. The cell has organized many service programs, blood donation camps, and trained students to participate in various activities like camps, youth festivals, etc. Rehabilitation centers were formed for the corona-affected people during the pandemic. About the event, Absolute Docker's Kubernetes CP4D, a journey towards cloud platforms. Docker is an open source software platform that helps you simplify the process of creating, managing, and distributing your applications. With Docker, you can package your application along with all its dependencies into a container. Container allow your applications to be deployed easily and uniformly. Kubernetes is an open source software for containerization platform like Docker. It has an API that controls container operations. With Kubernetes, you can run Docker containers and manage your containerized applications. We are very fortunate to have today's webinar resource person, Mr. M.B. Yoganand, software architect IBM, to give brief idea on Absolute Docker's Kubernetes CP4D, a journey towards cloud platforms. Hope all the participants will make use of this webinar and make it a grand success. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Now I request a convener, Dr. B. Kejarani ma'am, to give her opening remarks. Over to Kejarani ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Mokka Jagannath Rao Garu, respected Registrar, Professor T. Ashok Garu, Nanaya faculty members, and today's resource person, Mr. M.B. Yoganand Garu, IBM's software architect, IBM, and all my dear students. Warm welcome to you all for this one-day webinar on Absolute Docker's Kubernetes CP4D, a journey towards cloud platform. Here we all know that NSS is striving hard under the stewardship of Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Mokka Jagannath Rao Garu in organizing many webinars which are related to the students, as Sir is very much fond to give benefit to the students. So everyone knows that we have organized so many webinars up to now and the technical sessions also for the benefit of the students. And here today we have a wonderful resource person from IBM to resolve or to come with the topic of Absolute Docker's Kubernetes and CP4D, where CP4D is cloud pack for data, where large amount of data we have And the important thing is we have to use correct tools at correct time to take correct decisions. So CP4D will act in such place. So Cloud Pack for Data provides the tools you need to access your data no matter where it is located. At the same time, it enables us, all the users, to collaborate from a single unified interface. And finally, we can say that it delivers the foundational platform for deploying an IA for AI, in information architecture for artificial intelligence. This is also a tool developed by IBM KP4D. And coming to the absolute Dockers, as our friend Malpriya ma'am has already discussed, has already said that it is a container which contains also all the data. For example, every student will be saying that while they are developing their project and coming for execution, when they turn from one machine to another machine, there will be some problems. That is, the platform or the project which was developed in the developer machine will be run successfully. But when it is transformed to another machine, there lies some problems. That is, some tables may not get opened, some images may not get be opened, or it may take some more time to download. So these are the problems which may occur when one project is run in one machine to another machine. So to resolve that problems, there lies the Docker, which says that it is specially mentioned to resolve the problem as it works on my machine. So the developer usually says that it works on my machine, why it is not working on other machines. So here, there lies the Docker, which allows to have an airtight container. And these containers are the absolute heart of the Dockers. These containers wrap up your data, your entire code, and these are absolutely portable, which can be run in any machine, any platform. The portability is the absolute charm of the Docker. Dockers will also contain some social containers. These containers are packed up with your code, your dependencies, your configuration, and in some special cases, it also contains some chunk of operating systems. So on the whole, it is a client-side application, and it acts also as a service, and it has a social networking platform. Now, containers and Kubernetes, coming to Kubernetes, it has a K8s. It can also be called as K8s since we have 8 characteristics between K and S. And it was developed in Golang language by Google. And we have an efficient speaker now. I don't want to waste much time regarding this. So these are the Kubernetes is a orchestration tool, which is used for deploying, scheduling, scaling, load balancing, batch execution, and rollbacks and monitoring, which is a Kubernetes tool, containerization tool. Along with Kubernetes, we have Docker Swarm and Apache Mesos Marathon, which are also the tools of containerization or orchestration. With these few words, have a brief introduction about these today's topics. So with these few words, now I invite our Honorable Vice Chancellor, who is also the chief guest of today's program, who is behind the activities that the university is doing, all the activities, and we have received our ISO certificate, and we are going for NAC, and the faculty are involved in submitting their proposals, are busy in submitting the proposals, research proposals, and all the other faculty are involved in online classes, very busy schedule, and made all the faculty to be busy in a fruitful manner, not in other ways. This is all because of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, who has taken the charge last year, and since last year, the university is uh, tracking its way in a correct path. We can say that we are all going in a right path, and we can reach our destinations, and we can reach our goals as early as possible. And this is all because of our Honorable Vice Chancellor's effort and his interest in making the university to be at its heights. So with these few words, now I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir and the Chief Guest of today's program to address the students. And it is, I thank all the participants first, and it is very good to see 375 plus there. Very good. And students, please be quiet and listen to what sir says and also to the resource person speech. And we have interaction session at the end. If you have any doubts, you can ask and clarify your doubts. Now I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor to address the gathering. Please. Sir, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. KJ Rani. I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can continue.
Thank you, Dr. KJ Rani, the coordinator of NSS and this convener of today's webinar, a journey towards cloud platforms through the Dockers and Kubernetes. I'm extremely happy to know that there's a number of participants, almost 300 plus. And good morning to all of you, especially today's resource person, Mr. M.B. Yoganand, software architect from IBM, Hyderabad, and all other faculty members, deans, principals, executive council members, Professor Ramesh and Dr. Jaganmohan Reddy, and all the other faculty from the computer science. I could see Dr. Venkateshwar Rao and our PRO, Mr. Anand. Very good morning to all of you. As we have been active in our academics, though there is a pandemic, we are all confined ourselves to our homes. We are unable to do any physical academic activity, but still we are using all these virtual platforms to conduct various webinars in science and technology and engineering and management, arts, social sciences, languages, etc. We are extremely happy. In this line, this is one more webinar being conducted by the Dr. KJ Rani and this NSS, who is an NSS coordinator as well. NSS is being doing excellently well in this university, not only in delivering, conducting projects related to societal relevance, but also I'm happy to see they are also into the academics and active academic line. So today's webinar on Dockers and Kubernetes, I could see whenever we talk about computer science and computer engineering and software engineering and its applications, perhaps it is in this century the fastest developing technology and the fastest developing field, no doubt that is computer science. And computer science and engineering and computer science and applications. Without computers now, we have no life as such. Whether you're a teacher or a farmer or an industrialist or a common man, everybody is using computers and we are connected to the network because this magic machine in our hands, the smartphone, is connected to this network of networks, which we call an internet. And through that, you are accessible to millions of resources on the net. So computers are definitely has revolutionized the business as such. Just by sitting at the home, you are doing business and you are taking the advantage of the business. Whatever you wanted to get, you are getting using your smartphone. And the smartphone or the internet is being used for various other applications as well. So when these computers are progressing, everybody wanted to develop new technologies because millions of people, whether they are working in a company or whether they are working independently or they are working on their own, they are developing various technologies and they're making us, they're useful and making them available on the net free of cost, which we call open source. So these open source softwares are available on the net so that many enthusiasts of the software and many software experts continuously develop these open source softwares So in that way, sometimes we get excellent open source technologies. For example, you have the Linux operating system, which is open source and free of cost. So in the same platform, now using that Linux, there are many other applications are also being developed. So such revolutionary changes are occurring in the software. So the experts or the students or the professionals, everybody have to catch up what is happening in the industry, so that then only they will be on par with others. So computers not only give an opportunity to get good jobs, but also you need to also run along with the technology. You should update yourself. Without updating yourself, if you and then you are left alone. So this is what is important for a computer student to realize. You may have a degree, you may have a master's degree, or you may have a PhD, but what is happening in the industry is most important. So one such field today, what you can see, Docker and Kubernetes and its applications. The students should know what it is, what it is all about, how it is useful to us, and how it is useful to our profession, how what applications it has. So the students should be able to learn all these things only through the experts who are working in the industry, because the teachers may be teaching an academic point of view, but the experts who are working on the real-time projects. So it is always advantageous and fortunate to hear from a professional, as a real-time professional who is working on real-time projects. So when you're talking about these Dockers and the Kubernetes, what I could understand is when you are working and different people are working on various applications on different platforms for a given company or an organization. So they need to always update, they need to modify, they need to work on the continuous developments of thousands of applications at once. So the applications which are developed on different platforms need to be integrated or need to be worked out on in platform independent mechanism. So Dockers will provide a platform independent mechanism where you can isolate an application in a container. So those containers will allow you to take your application platform independent. So the latter, the Kubernetes is, these two are different technologies. They're not one, they're two different technologies, but they work together for our benefit. So once the containerization is done in the Dockers, then the Kubernetes, what it will do, it is a container scheduler. It will schedule and it can be used to deploy and scale various applications. So suppose you have a Amazon Web Services where thousands of applications are being developed, are being there over the world and different parts of the world, being developed by different software engineers. Suppose somebody is developing images, somebody is working on transactions, somebody is working on the content, somebody is working on queries of the people, somebody is working on all other web applications. So they have to be sometimes need to be worked as an isolated way using containers, using the Dockers. Then you have used the Kubernetes to schedule these containers. So in this way, this is the technology, what you can understand as a layman. So the expert will be explaining you the technology behind this and how it is useful. Now I can understand majority of the companies are looking at the professionals with the skills of DevOps. So the skills are needed so that companies like Oracle, Barclays, Accenture, Tech Mahindra, TCS, IBM, Wipro, etc. are looking forward to recruit these experts, the youngsters. So the youngsters need to know what is Docker and what is Kubernetes from the expert. We have today MB Yoganand. I'm extremely happy and congratulate Mr. Yoganand for coming over here to give all the information required to the students and to the professionals, young professionals, and also to our teachers. So you need to catch up. You need to be running along with the development of technology, whether it is a software professional or a faculty or a student. You need to upgrade your skills time and again. So thank you very much. And a professional should always be creative and open-minded to receive new technologies. We should not be very conservative. We should not confine ourselves. Okay, I know these things, this quantum of knowledge, I'll keep myself like that. No, it won't happen in computer science and engineering. You have to be running along with the development of the subject. Otherwise, you are left alone. You are not employed, and nobody thinks about you. Thank you very much, Dr. Keziarani and all others. Thank you. I wish all the best and success of this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful message of updating ourselves and giving the students the advice of hearing to the webinars like this, and also to update to the industry, not only to the academic side, but also every student has to see what the things or what the tools that were developed newly in the industry, and so that they will be having so much updation, and they will be running according to the platforms or according to the situation environment. Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming all over here and giving valuable message. Now I invite Mr. Rahul, NSS Program Officer of University College of Engineering, to introduce our resource person, MB Yoganand Garu. Over to you, Rahul.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Good morning to one and all. I am Rahul Pal, Program Officer of University College of Engineering. Consider it as a great honor to introduce our today's resource person, Mr. MB Yoganand Garu. Mr. MB Yoganand Garu completed his postgraduate from Osmania University, and presently he is working in IBM Indian Private Limited as in software labs, and certified in CMMI in level 3. And he is an advisor software engineer in IBM Analytics. And also he worked as a solution architecture in financial services, worked with the different clients across the world, including Asia Development Bank, Citizens Bank, SBI, and Reliance Group. He created a state of art of technology and helped clients to migrate their business to better technologies, and also participated in solution development of concept 360 degrees of a customer view, which helped various business clients. He involved in developing solutions for predictive analytics with police departments. Mr. Yoganand Garu is an educational neurologist exploring technology, trends, and creativity betterment opportunities to all the students in different universities. And he also involved in board of studies of IIIT Hyderabad, JNTU Hyderabad, Adikavi Nanna University, Rajahmundry. He also helped universities to change their curriculum, which enriches the students' profile with great technologies. And he also involved in faculty development programs in various universities, which helped faculty members to excel their skills and delivered technical sessions in various national and international platforms. Mr. Yoganand Garu involved in innovation programs and filed 4 patents and continuously exploring better ideas towards need of society, and also taking active role in cooperative social responsibility CSR, supporting 200 plus children to continue their education, and also helping students for government schools for deaf in Hyderabad by providing digital classrooms and science labs, and also participated in various livelihood programs which helps persons with disability and many more. Thank you, sir, and thank you, Kezirani madam, for giving me this great opportunity. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Rahul. Sir, good morning, sir. Yoganand Garu.
Very good morning, ma'am.
Greet our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Hello.
Yoganand,
Yes,
sir.
ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Madam, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir. You can wish our Honorable
All
Vice Chancellor, sir. He's there in the
Yeah.
webinar, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thanks for giving this opportunity. Good morning, sir. Vice Chancellor, sir, Sri M. Jagannatha Garu, and Registrar, sir, and all the faculty members, and the NSS, the coordinator, Dr. K.J. Garu, and the students of the university who joined this morning session. I welcome everyone to the technology enablement session for today. It's a cloud cloud components that I wanted to give you, like how we are going to explore the new opportunities in the cloud, and as well as how it is going to be benefited to the, in the academic perspective. Kejaram, can you please confirm whether I'm audible or not? Is my voice is
Yes,
clear?
sir. You are audible.
All right, sure. So I'm excited to see Sri Jagannatha Rao sir, Vice Chancellor of the university, is having excellent knowledge in the information technology. I'm glad to see that, sir, and I think I need to learn more from you.
No, I have a passion for computers because I'm a user of computers. I'm not a software engineer, but I'm a user. And I always think about how the computers can be used in my field and other fields of science and technology. So in that way, I get the concept of each and every technology. So I'm not a programmer, but I can think about the concept and think how it can be used in other fields. That is my passion.
Thank you, sir. It's my
Sir,
pleasure to meet.
Sir, Yoganand sir, I want to say one word. We have organized under supervision of Honorable Vice Chancellor sir, university has organized around 85 plus webinars. In these 85 plus of various disciplines also. And in this of this 85 plus webinars, sir has been a chief guest, and he has given his wonderful message really on 85 different types of webinars. He's not only very much interested in computer science, he has very much interest as well as very much good knowledge about all the areas. We are very much impressed, means Vice Chancellor should be like this. The faculty, we used to, when we are chit-chatting with some other faculty also, we used to think how a single person may have this much knowledge of various aspects. So it's really our the blessing to the Aditya Vinaya University to have a Vice Chancellor like this, really to say. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Yoganand, for your nice words. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So before I start up my screen sharing, I would like to have kind of interactive session from the multiple the faculty members and as well as students of university who are listening to this session. Because any journey starts from the maybe very first step. We need to understand how the computer is evaluated. So everyone knows that. So there is a lot of hard work behind the efforts of each and every technology. So we know like we are taking advantage of these technologies in the recent generations, but there has been a lot of efforts, maybe in the multiple domains or multiple technologies.
Your voice is breaking,
so we cannot
sir.
really rule out. Is it breaking? Okay. Can I allow me 1 minute, madam? I'll switch my network.
Yes, yes.
So I think sir is in your native place. I think so, sir. We have some problem issues anywhere.
Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Is that better?
Yes, sir, it may be little bit louder if it is possible.
All right. Okay. All right. I'll stop my video. I think I need to find alternative. Otherwise, I'll not be able getting a better bandwidth of my network. So.
Okay.
Right. All right. Yeah. Thanks for joining, everyone. So I would like to start off my very basic terminologies. So I want everyone to give me, or at least like think, how it went on. So if you think like what is a computer, maybe you may be having a very good definition of a computer. All right. So we will talk about a physical machinery. And the later, we started exploring the issues and finding out a lot of limitations while using the physical machines. And later on, we went on creating the virtual machines, right? So we learned a lot of lessons from the physical machines, and and also we started exploring the more opportunities with the VMs, the virtual machines. So here, the virtual machine is again a concept which has a kind of uh, a limited resources related, the limited related a limited resources again, which is stopping in a lot of aspects. So when I'm talking about a virtual machine, it goes into a lot of networking issues, which may have like a full-blown operating system. If it is a physical machine, yeah, I would say that there is a kind of a licensing involved in that, and there is a kind of a process that is required and should be taken care. And it needs a regular intervals of the maintenance as well. In the case of virtual machines, yes, we have full-blown operating system image has to be replicated, and we are going to use that for the multiple deployments here. So if you look at the normal business scenarios, we will get into the issues like handling the multiple environments. One is the development environment, second one is the QA or testing environment, and the last one is the production environment. So when we have the physical machines, you used to uh, copy the code from the development environment to the test environment, and then we used to move to the production environment. So here, the entire cycle is having the multiple phases, right? I mean, starting from the development to the QA or test environment, and then production environment. So we used to physically copy the code or our application from the development environment to QA environment to test it and certify it by the QA engineers. And then finally, the certified product is going into the production. Now there is a kind of nitty-gritties may involve in between. Here, the nitty-gritties in the sense, you may be forgetting copying of few dependencies, few libraries, or maybe some other packages which are required. So here, every phase, we have kind of an efforts taken by the one individual person or a group of team, a group of persons, used to take care of the copying of the library files, copying of your code, your own application code, and the required dependencies from environment to environment. Finally, as I think one of the faculty members, I think Kejarani may have mentioned that at the end of the production, you may be again end up with missing the some of the some of the files or libraries. So which will create a kind of a messy environment to the entire life cycle. So here, when I'm saying about life cycle, I was referring to the SDLC, software development life cycle. So we need to understand how complex it is. Every manual efforts is again very tedious process and very risky to the software development. Hence, we move to the virtual machines. Again, we had a kind of issues with the virtual machine. As I said, it involves into kind of a cost for the virtual machine creation within the physical image. So we will have a physical image that is splitted into multiple images. Each one we call it as a one virtual machine. So again, to activate each virtual machine, we need to have the full-blown operating system related licensing. All right. So let me share my screen. I want to share my screen. I don't know. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So this is what I was referring. So we had a kind of complexities in the SDLC, and then we ran into multiple issues for in terms of the activities again. So that was the reason we were trying to find the alternative with the VMs, the virtual machines. Again, so each virtual machine is a component made up of different licensing aspects, which will have a limited resources. When I'm saying a limited resources, it is a limited resources that was created during the setting up the environment or the machine. We cannot really extend. So we know when we have a need, when there is a need of extending the machine capacity, we cannot do that. So the reason is we will have the maintenance issues. All right. So let's take an example of the mobile phone or Android phone. I think everyone must be using the WhatsApp or maybe using some other Amazon apps. When there is a maintenance, you may get an alert saying that you need to go for update of your app. What do? You install or do you uninstall the existing one, or you install the latest one, something like that, or you are going to have updates smoothly without any uninstallation or cleanup of your own application. All right. So here, a simple example says that it's like zero downtime maintenance. So without uninstallation or without losing any data, without compromising the security, we are updating our apps, the applications. Here, but what is happening in the back end, behind the screen? That is what we are going to learn and we are going to explore. I know the time that we have is very limited, so we will have to understand at least the key concept of the entire applications. All right. In a general, a traditional a traditional approach of the development work goes like starting from development to the test and prod. So as I said, we will have to get into the a multiple multi-layer networks or multi-layer support infrastructure. So that is where we wanted to bring in a new technique called a isolated framework. So here I'm using the isolated framework, which will help us to package all your the code, your dependencies, and your whatever the libraries that is required to make your applications to work. Those packages must be independent of any other existing applications on the same machine. So here, the reason for bringing this concept, the isolated framework, is to maintain the independence of the of other applications and easy to maintenance. Here, when I'm saying the maintenance, as the example which I gave is WhatsApp. So the maintenance, whatever latest upgradation or latest features being included on your WhatsApp and which is in your Android phone, that is called maintenance. So here you have very less maintenance cost or zero maintenance cost, and without losing without losing any of the data, you should be able to update your app. That is what I was saying. So when I'm saying that isolated framework, all right. So let's understand. You have a mobile phone in your hand, and your friend is also having another mobile phone. Now both wanted to update the WhatsApp at the same time. So what is going on at the back end? Here, the WhatsApp has to integrate your application based on the one API key or one confidential ID, which is being generated by the WhatsApp, the app in the backend, will have to allow each individual mobile phone to update your local WhatsApp in your mobile phone. So here, please understand the concept again. I'm going to repeat. The WhatsApp allows your user to update their individual apps, which is already installed on their mobile phones. Here, the identification of each individual user is happening based on the API key. Here, the API key is a confidential identification number being generated by the IAM. So there is another server which is generating the identity of your own
Sir.
device. So that device will.
Sir, make it full screen, sir.
Oh, okay.
And there is a little bit of breaking also in your voice.
Actually, sorry for that. Today, actually, I connected with my mobile data, so I lost my Wi-Fi. I was unable to switch to my Wi-Fi due to the power outage. All right. So the example I was saying about the maintenance of the WhatsApp updation in your one mobile phone. Here, the WhatsApp is updating the application code, including the dependencies and the libraries. All right. So here you will have to understand what is happening in the backend. Here, everything is isolated, meaning your own code is isolated from the other user. That is what I was referring to the isolated framework. So in a general term, I call it as isolated framework, but in a technical term, I call it as a container. Okay, I call it as a container. Every container is a kind of a concept of packaging, a concept of packaging all the application code, libraries, and anything that is related to configurations or dependencies. We are packaging it. So that's simple. You need to understand a simple word, containerization. Like when you are trying to ship one thing or maybe a couple of things from one place to another, you package and you take it, right? It's the same thing here. Whatever is you developed on your code, you are packing it and then moving it to a new format called an image. Please remember, there is a difference between a containers and the image. Images is something which is readable, rewritable. Okay? Please understand that. So the image can be written again and again. You can update with the same image, or you can add additional code into the images, and then later you can again deploy it. And here a container is again a kind of executable format, which is helping you to deploy your applications. So the image is having the backup of, or the backup image or backup what do you call station. But station container is running on your machine. So here in the case of your WhatsApp application is running on your mobile is the container, and the image which WhatsApp organization deployed in the server is called image. Hope everyone understands this. So the WhatsApp is keeping the image ready for you to deploy on your Android phone. So the container which is deployed on your local Android machine will be updated and will be running in the backend. So a simple example. Now we need to understand how containers exit or how we can use it. So before we go ahead to implement the containers, we need to understand how the container is allowing the multiple applications in the same. So as I said, one container can have one application and or multiple applications. So that depends on how you are allowing your applications to, or how you are allowing your applications to use multiple ports. I hope you are all aware of the ports and the networking terminal. All right. Now the container should be understand. You cannot write gigabytes of code for each container. So the more you are simplifying, that is the more efficient. All right. So the reason why I'm saying is the containers is dictating the life cycle of the microservices. Please remember, this is a new terminology again. Each microservice again will be deployed in the form of containers only. So when I'm saying that a microservice will make your application to be available as a small service running independently within the operating system. Again, this microservice is communicatable with the other applications as well. All right. So what is the use of the microservice? I would say, the microservice is very handy, simplified in the coding, or easy to maintenance and easy to start. So now, what exactly the meaning of easy to start here? And I'm saying that multiple users is trying to update same WhatsApp in my previous example, multiple the users is trying to update the WhatsApp at the same time. Meaning, a separate containers will be created for each individual owner or individual WhatsApp user. If you not know, so that's what I'm saying, that easy to install, easy to develop, or easy to manage. All right. Here, quick, when you are trying to using container. Now, let's come back to square root. So we had a few concepts. What is understand? What is now? All these should be accommodated in the platform. I'm saying that a form, a player you develop your own code or something, or do some some other application, what is given to you. Like we have an operating system, we call it as, maybe in us, we call it as kind of a platform, right? Operating environment and operating. So here,
Sir?
hello, ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
Sir,
Yeah.
is it possible to make somewhat louder, sir? And voice also breaking?
Okay, I have the mic very close to my mouth. It's still not audible, ma'am.
Yes, it's okay now, sir.
No?
But it is breaking.
Okay, it's okay, not the better. Okay. Oh, 1 second, ma'am. Let me check. 1 second. Give me a minute.
Now it is okay, but before it is breaking. We are getting a continuous break.
Just a minute, ma'am. I'm again trying to switch my network. Hold on a second.
Okay, no problem.
Chancellor ma'am, can you please hear me?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Now it is clear, sir. Your voice is clear.
Hello.
All my dear students, please bear with us for a few minutes. There are some technical issues. So it will be getting cleared and you'll have a wonderful session. And you can clear your doubts at the end. Sir, am I audible, sir? Yoganand, sir.
Hello. Ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, I think, I will only talk, madam. I think the slide sharing is taking more banding. That's why it is eating up all the bandwidth. So can I share my, my the slides to you, madam, the slide deck, so that you can operate the slides?
Yes, sir. No problem.
Okay, I will share.
Ali, Srinivas,
Madam,
sir will be sharing the slides to you. Okay. We will be operating from our side.
so who is sharing, madam?
సార్ మీకు స్లైడ్స్ షేర్ చేస్తారు మనం ఇక్కడ నుంచి మీరు ఇక్కడ నుంచి స్లైడ్స్ ఇది చేయండి అక్కడ
Okay,
అంటే
okay.
సార్ విలేజ్ లో ఉన్నట్టున్నారు
Okay,
హోమ్ టౌన్ కి వెళ్ళారు
okay, okay.
బ్యాండ్విడ్త్ ప్రాబ్లం అంటున్నారు
Okay, madam.
ఓకే
మేడం గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ మేడం అలీన్ మాట్లాడుతున్నాను మేడం
Madam, did you get my slides, ma'am?
Yoganand sir, please check chart. Yoganand sir.
Hello. Yeah, I see your WhatsApp number.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, all right.
Who is Ashwik Prem there?
So can you please check the slides I sent on your WhatsApp?
Sure, sir. Sure. So this one PDF, sir. This one.
Yes. Please go to the slide number.
It's a one only one page, sir.
PDF. Hold on.
This is only one page. One page, sir.
Okay, let me check that one second.
Yoganand, sir, please check, sir. It's a only one page PDF.
Yes, I'm checking. One second. Give me a minute.
Yoganand, sir, you're speaking something, I think so, but we can't hear you.
No, madam. Actually, I'm not speaking one. I'm trying to send a file to the respective sir. I think I'm typing it, so that is, I think it's making some noise. Sir, just now I pushed my file, which has 15 pages. Can you please check once? Maybe it's on your way.
Srinivas, sir.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Yoganand, sir, please respond. Yoganand, sir.
Can you please go to the slide number 8? Can you hear? Madam, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So page number, sir, 8.
Yes, page number 8. Yes. The previous one. Go to the previous one, please. Yeah, 7. The 8, please. All right. So I was talking about. Sorry, guys. I mean, there was a technical glitches in the network, so It's actually apologies from my side. Can't help me in this case. So try to switch networks, but still it is the same problem. All right. Hope the session will continue for a few more minutes effectively. All right. So we were talking about the images, and we learned about containers, and we also learned about a new terminology called microservice. All right. So just to recap, a Docker is a platform where we are creating a software related package, and we also call the package as a container. So a container is a process of containerization is a process of packaging. So that package will contain the application code, its dependencies, and the libraries and the configurations, which are becoming as an image. So that image will be used for deploying anywhere else. So irrespective of the operating system, this image can be deployed anywhere. So each image will try to run as a container in the backend, and each individual user will be able to use the containers as their own application. Again, each container will have their own way of operating systems. Like we call it as a node. So each container will associate with one node. This node is a kind of again virtual, not a physical one. So the virtual node will be created, and each application will act as an independent item. So it will not have any dependency on each application within the same operating system or the same server. Here, when we are saying that it's a container as a lightweight application, which is useful for the maintenance perspective, and which is giving a platform for us to for the zero maintenance applications. All right. Let's understand how the each image will be created. Can you please go to the next slide, sir? Okay. So for that, we need to have a platform called a Docker. As I said, a Docker is a platform which is helping, a kind of helping us to provide a kind of a platform where we create our own application code or develop the code and make an image, and now, I think a Docker is a terminology which maybe a shipyard, right? So in the shipyard, you call it as a dock. Like we have airport and we have a dock here. A Docker is a place where you are launching your application or making your application to be ready to launch. So both the terminology is kind of same. So Docker is a place where you are keeping your application ready for launching. This application will be in the form of images. So we are going to build image on the Docker platform. So a Docker is again a Linux based tool. In the case of Windows operating system, you cannot directly implement the Docker on the Windows operating system. There will be a limitation. In the recent versions of Windows, so there is a new technology called WSL, Windows Simulator for Linux, and I think it has version 2 that will be used for installing the Docker as a prerequisite. In the case of Mac users, you can directly use the Mac as two ways. One is a Docker client, another one is a Docker engine. So both will be deployed on the Mac operating system to develop the applications and the image in the form of images. If you are a Linux user, direct Linux user, you can deploy the Linux directly. You can deploy the Docker on the Linux operating system directly. Please remember, a Linux again will have RHELs or there are. So basically, in the industry, we use the CentOS operating system and the RHEL operating system. So in the both the cases, only the difference between these two is the way that we deploy the apps is only the difference here. Apart from that, how we are going to make our environment ready is also slightly different. In the case of the Red Hat Linux, few packages will be used using the RPM methodology. And in the case of CentOS, we can normally use directly as a yum installer. And in some cases, people are also using like brew installer. Like on the Mac also, we use the brew or homebrew technology. So these are all the different terminologies you may want to learn it and then use it when you are trying to develop the application. Okay, so coming back to the Docker, I will install a Docker on one of the Linux machine. I will find out whether maybe CentOS operating system or the Red Hat Linux. We will install the Docker on top of it. We will see how the Docker is helping us to create the image. We will create an image on the Docker platform, and we will maybe develop a small application on the Docker. So this is the flow that I wanted to cover today. So at the end of the session, we will learn about the Docker platform and the installation of the Docker, creation of the images, creation of the containers using the images, and little bit image management, like creation of the image, backup of the image, restoration of the images. And maybe you can update image based on the code that you wanted to update, or add little bit code to it. And at the end, we will also understand like how Docker engine is replicating the containers in the form of different IDs. So here IDs will be given to each component. We need to understand how the Docker is divided. Basically, Docker is having like divided into multiple components. First thing that we learn is images. Next one is the containers. And I think these two are already, we are now familiar with these two terminologies. But the last one is the Docker engine. So the Docker engine is helping us to scale our environment based on the configuration that you are specifying. Please remember, every configuration will be specified in the form of a new file or configuration file called Docker file. In the recent technologies, again, maybe at the higher level, we are using the config maps for Kubernetes, and we are using YAML files even in the case of Dockers. And in the recently, there is another technology called Helm. So this technology is also helping us to configure the Docker and as well as Kubernetes. All right. Sir, can you please move to the next slide? So we will create an image which has maybe a simpler and operating system related application. Maybe I would say I would prefer either Node.js or maybe a simple web application should be fine. I'm going to create a small maybe a JavaScript with that code, and I will call that IP address and the port number. I will configure those two, and then I will access that on my machine. All right. So before that, I would want to add like some more the terminology here. I would want to use some more terminology here, like the Docker application pull and the push the code and the Docker run. So there are a few commands which we are going to understand while working with the Docker. Some of them, I normally specify as like Docker images, and you will have the help again. Help will be available once the Docker is installed. But I want you to familiar yourself with a few Docker commands like Docker PS, which is helping us to give the like process status of all the existing Dockers, or maybe running containers. All right. So I will share my screen now. Hopefully, I should get the better network. Let me connect to my one of the server. I will come back to you. All right, I connected one of my the RHEL servers. Hope you are able to see them. All right. So I will use small commands to make you familiar with this. So first thing is whether to find whether the Docker is installed on the machine or not. Simply use a Docker command, and then you will see the list of commands here. Right. So simply type the Docker command, and then you enter it. You press the enter. Then you will be able to see what are the commands available for the within the Docker here. So here I simply typed it. All right. And if you look at the few commands here, there are management commands which are related to the containers, and there are few management commands for the managing the images. So I think you may want to learn these two, for sure. You may have to understand management commands for containers, management commands for images. So these two are must. And other things, you may have to learn maybe later on based on your choice. And the swarms, I think you can verify this later, because again that depends on your ephemeral storages that may come at the later part of time when you deal with that. And apart from this, there are other commands which are related to the Dockers directly here. So here, like attaching the some local IO related commands, and you may want to build your application using the build command, Docker build. And whenever you are making a change to the Docker image, you commit it and then make a new image or create a new image. You can copy the files from or to the Docker, and you can create a new containers, and you can find the difference, and you can find the history of the images. So these are all the different commands which you may want to find, maybe explore one by one. All right. So we don't have time to cover all of them. I will tell you how to start very simple one. So before you install any Docker, I would want you to know about few things. See whether your machine is ready for the Docker installation or not. All right. So here, first you need to understand what is your operating system. First, you need to understand what is your operating system. Ma'am, Kejira, ma'am, is it audible to you, madam?
Yes, sir. It is audible, sir.
Okay. And the screen is refreshing is happening correctly or not?
Your screen is not visible, sir. Your voice is okay.
Oh, is it? Okay. Actually, I started screen share some time back and not sure.
Yes, sir. Your screen is not
visible, sir.
Since Srinivas sir has to stop his screen sharing.
It is visible, ma'am. It is visible to us, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir. Ma'am, Srinivas sir confirmed that I think he is viewing the screen which I am sharing.
Srinivas sir has stopped screen sharing, sir. You can continue with this, sir. Your screen is visible, sir.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks for confirming. All right. So before you install your, the Docker on any of the machine, you need to find out.
Yes, sir. It is visible now. You can continue.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So you need to understand which operating system that you are using. Okay. In the case, since it is a Linux, I'm using this command, right? Hostname CTL. This will help me to understand what kind of operating system that I am using. So here I know it is like RHEL AS 8.4. So I created this maybe I think yesterday late night, and then this is for the demo server. All right. Before that, you also need to understand whether the machine is a virtual machine or a physical machine. So in this, I can say it is like a virtual machine, correct? So this is what it is. This is one of the VM sliced out of the one of the physical resources available, and then there is kind of other details as well. What I did, you need to understand whether the Docker can be installed on this machine or not. Please remember, in the case of any of your enterprise servers, you need to ensure that the internet connectivity is enabled on that machine. Otherwise, some of the repositories you will have to pull manually and then install on your servers. So to find out whether the repositories are available or not, you need to go to one file called etcd. So the file called /etcd/yum. So you will have yum.repos and then .d. Here, So you will have some repositories like this. So I have the Docker repositories like Docker CA repository and Docker Red Hat repository, and there is one more called like Devit repository. Here, I had deployed my the Docker, the existing environment using the Red Hat repository, redhat.repo. Please remember, if you don't see the repositories at any case, in any case, you will have to manually copy the repository into your local machine or your server, and then install manually, like the yum install. Okay. Now, to install the Docker for CentOS operating system, there is another way of doing it. For in the case of Red Hat Linux, maybe if it is the enterprise Linux, you can directly use from the internet, or if it is your own personal, which doesn't have enterprise licensing for your practice, then you will have to follow the different approach here. So the different approach means like you will have to bring your like standard repositories by directing or by specifying the subscription manager repositories. For example, subscription repositories for Red Hat Linux looks like this. I'll type the subscription repository command here for your reference. You will understand that. Since mine is Red Hat Enterprise Linux, I would not be able to use the subscription managers directly. Here, subscription -manager space repositories -- I'm enabling the option enable RHEL7 or maybe 8 server.rpms. Please remember, the subscription manager will depend on the repository name that you are specifying and should be supported by the Red Hat operating system. If the repository is not supported, it is not going to install. So apart from the Red Hat repository RPMs, we also need to have the some extra RPMs, and we call it as a subscription manager extras. And apart from this, there is another option called server optional RPMs also required to set up your RPMs or with Dockers. Now, so there is another way of there is different way for the installing the Docker on your Red Hat Enterprise Linux. I will show you that. Ma'am, is my screen is visible, ma'am?
Yes, sir. You can.
Okay, because I'm actually I'm trying to switch from window to window. That's why I'm trying to find out the latency. All right, so there is a command for a DNF installs. This is for a Docker CE. So I'm going to reinstall on the same machine. Okay, it says like my Docker is already installed on the same machine, and so the dependency is also resolved, and I think it has nothing to do. If you wanted to stop and start the services, you have commands like the sysctls enable Docker, sysctl enable Docker, and this is the command we normally use to start up it. Sudo we use for the super user, and systemctl is for the like your controlling commands, system level controlling commands, and we are enabling the Docker here. So Docker is the name of the service that we wanted to enable it. All right. So now once the and it is enabled, I'm going to start the Docker service by using the sudo systemctl start Docker. So I'm enabling the Docker service, and then I'm going to start the service. You can have like, maybe stop service as well if you're not really continuing with working with the Docker. And in the case of your own operating system, you may run into the firewalls. So the firewalls will have to be stopped, in some cases when you are allowing your the Docker application running on the backend should be visible to the internet. So in that case, you will have to stop the firewalls. To stop the firewall, you have a command systemctl stop firewall d. Okay, or sometimes in some of the operating system we call it as like IP tables also. If you have using the firewall d, or which is a tool which will also help you to stop the firewalls directly. Okay, once you are stopping the firewall, that means your machine is allowed to access the internet. Now I'm going to use some commands like docker command, and I will use the hyphen to tell me the docker command helps. So you can type a command like a docker help or docker info. So I'm giving the docker info as a simple command to tell me what type of docker that I install on this machine, and what is the storage that is given, or how much is the storage is given, and if there is any other containers running on this machine or not. So here that statistics will give me here on this server there is 0 containers running 0, and there is like no pause 0 and maybe the stop 0. So I have few images. Maybe I will have to create here the image is also 0. So to start with any of your application the deployment, you need to understand these statistics, whether your application can run on the same environment or not. If you are running, and you need to understand or assess the impact on the other applications also. Okay, so for that reason we are giving this information. And apart from this, you can also start identifying the container IDs. So this is a unique container ID, which I said earlier in the case of WhatsApp. So any container will have the binary IDs like this, and this will be used for each identification. And apart from this, there is another API key that will be attached to this container ID, and that will be given to you. All right. So if not this Docker, there is another command called docker command help, docker command hyphen help. This also will give you the same menu like what you got in the earlier, like Docker menu, each command wise information. Okay, so we will now go to the to list out all the images here. So I'll give the Docker images. Okay, before that I want to see like PS minus A, just to see like what all is running. So PS stands for process status, and the Docker PS minus A, I'm trying to list all the processes which are running. So here I have nothing, so that is like I'm getting like only the headers. There is no other details here. Now you can create the image by accessing one of the repository. Please remember accessing the repository, and since you are new, hello. All right. Since you are new to, if you are new to the accessing any of the repositories, you can take the existing repositories available from the maybe the Google or the Docker.com. You can try working on that. So you will have to pull those repositories. In the case of maybe a simple application, you can find the Docker hub here, like hub.docker, and try to find out any simple application, and you will have to use it. For that, you have a command called a docker pull. So yeah, you can use the docker pull in this case. Now, if you are not really sure about what kind of the repositories are already available, you can simply use the docker pull and type some name. For example, if you are trying to use the Python related repository, you can use docker pull Python. Just type Python. All right. So here I am doubting whether this machine is having the outbound internet, but or maybe inbound internet. I will see whether it is available or not. I'm trying to pull the Python related. So it is attempting to pull the latest Python here, but unfortunately, I think this is not having a limitation. I think this is having a limitation for accessing the internet. That is the reason it says, I think there is some authentication is required for this. All right. Yeah. In your case, maybe if you want to use like Node.js, you can say like Docker pull, and then you can specify the node or Node.js. Then it will list all the repositories available in the Docker Hub website. You can try to pull one of them and then build your image. I will show you another server where I have the images available so that you will understand that. Just give me a minute. I am connecting to another machine. All right. I switched to another machine now. Hopefully you are able to see them. All right. So here, what I did, I used the Docker ps-a. Here I see the list of images which are running here. If you look at this, the Docker is having the container ID and then image name and then command that is being operated for this app or maybe this the image, and then the time that was created and the status. So here there are some other names like alias names given here, and the name of the containers also given here. These are all the different Docker images that is another that's all already listed here. Now, if I see a Docker image, the images, see this, the same image here, the image that is appearing in the above. I gave you the ps-a, but here I'm trying to list only the image here, the image name, and it has some tag here. Please remember this tag is giving the identity of your version or maybe the application. In some cases, you may also by default, if you don't specify the tag here, it will consider that as the latest tag. So you have the repository name and you have the tag name, and this is the image ID. So this is a kind of unique one, and it will tell you how much the identity is given here. Now let's understand the image details here. You can identify the history of the image. So here I will say Docker history and then followed by your image ID, or you can provide um, the image name also. Here, the Docker history says that, it is listing how this is created. Even in your live application, you can understand how the Docker is created and how the image is created, maybe day after day. So this will help you to understand whether whether the image is the latest one or the old one. So you will have to understand this. Okay. And now I will say Docker info. Okay. Let me take another one. Okay, I wanted to save one of the image. So whichever is already there, then I will take this image and I'll take a backup of this image. Whenever you are trying to make a change, so you will have to take a copy of it initially and then try to modify it. So to save it, there is a command called docker save. All right, and then you can use the image here. I will take the least one. I think I'll take this. This I think having less than 1 GB. So I'm going to take this docker save and then image file name, and then I'm going to write or redirect you to some name, maybe some tar file. I will move this to tmp. I will say demo.tar file or demo image.tar file. Here it is going to write this Docker image into a new directory or new file called demo image.tar file. So you have the archive file that is being created here. We will see sometime. Okay, so I'm going to use, I'm going to find whether the file is created or not. So ls minus l, I will say, I'm listing out this detail. I say this is created. Now I know like how to see the image. I know how to take a backup of the image. Now let's deploy this image again. Now I will take this image and then I will deploy it. Okay. Now to deploy, there is a command called docker load minus I image, and then I'm going to specify this. Please remember, when I'm trying to deploy this, earlier I had deployed something like this, correct? And then I can remove this image and then I can redeploy it. Maybe let me remove the image first and then I'll redeploy it. So to remove the deployed images, there is a command called docker rmi. So like you have a remove file, right? Rm minus rf file commands, removal of the files. Here we have the docker image, docker prefix, and then rmi. Rm stands for remove, I stands for image. I want to give the image here. I want to remove this image. Okay, a docker image, a docker rmi, and then followed by the image name. Or you can provide the docker name also. That's your wish. So while deleting this, I see there is a dependency, I think, on other container that is running. So we will have to stop the containers and then do it. Let me stop the containers. One second, ma'am. Actually, I am switching the window again. All right. So from other window, I was able to see, like, how the content is running in the backend. So I came back here. I killed that the image. Normally we don't do that because we have the dependencies here. That's the reason I soft killed it, and then I came back and then stopped the container here. So I stopped the Docker container here, and now I should be able to delete my previous image. I think we still have the dependencies lying on it. Let me recheck this. Oops, unable to delete this. Somewhere it is like one of the daemon is holding this. I think it is creating the conflict to delete it. Never mind. So I will go back and then try to load our backup the image. So here docker load minus L and then image name. So this time I'm giving a simple file name, but there is no image or nothing I'm giving. Let's see what will happen. Okay, so now the Docker image is loaded. The new image is appearing here with a different ID. Let's list out the images again. Docker images. Okay. So my earlier one was this. Okay, this is the one. I think this is all right here. I will give the image ID next time, like image the tag name, so that you will get the new ID. Oh yes, I think this image is trying to override the same again and again. It's not taking the latest again. Maybe problem with some of the demo is still not releasing. That is the reason we ran into this issue. I'll have to clean it up. Okay, let me go back to the containers. I will see how the containers can be created with this. Hold on, guys. I think even the container is also having a kind of problem here in this machine. I need to find out other alternative. I'm trying to connect to the one of the container. So the command to connect to the container is docker exec -it. Exec is actually, we are trying to execute something, and then I stands for interactive, and the T stands for like terminal mode, and then followed by the container ID. So here we have the different container IDs at the end, my first column here. The container IDs. Each container ID can be used to connect to that. So in this case, I have one of the DB2 container like database here, and the database container ID is this one. So that is why I'm trying to use docker exec IT and then followed by the container ID. And since it is should be running on only in the bash mode, I am specifying the bash as one of the parameters. So if it is not running. I'm going to start the Docker container and then followed by the container ID, Docker start, and then followed by container ID. Let's again check whether the Docker is running or not. Okay, so this container is now up now. I am going to use the Docker execute here, same command. All right, I entered into the Docker now, the container. So here I have different libraries. So this is the libraries created by the developer before the before packaging it. So here I have the um, different directories. Like one of the directory which I use for the DB2 is home DB2 inst1. So I have this user ID. All right. I'm going to log in as the DB2 inst1. So I'm using again sudo user or switch user DB2 inst1. So here I should be able to connect it to one of the database to find out the directories or the database directories. I need to find out what database is already there. So list db directory is the command to find out the name of the databases available. db2 directory. So here I have a file, like one of the database called mdmdb. I'll connect to that database db2, connect to one of the database called mdmdb. Okay, there is a spell mistake. db2 connected to mdmdb. Okay, so this is connecting to the database server. So my application, my app is having the dependency on the db2, and I have the application server. I'm using here web application server, and my Node.js is also there in one of the services. So multiple services are running on the multiple microservices. So one of the microservice is my db2. Now I entered inside the database and then trying to see whether my database is up or not. Maybe I can write all my queries, whatever you want. Maybe some select queries, right? Maybe some table. I don't know the table name, but maybe I will check this. Contact, maybe the name of the table. There is some data inside this. It should be fine. All right, I should have taken the count of this db2 select count star from contact table. So this is showing me some data here. All right, to come out of this, I'm trying to exit this. Simply use the exit command to come out of it. Now you disconnected the the database services. Okay, so if you wanted to come out before this, you may want to terminate the db2 connection, terminate, and then come out of it. Now you are into the root user of your container. So earlier you logged in as a db2 admin, a db2 inst1, and you came out of it. Now you are as a part of the root user now. How do you recognize? If it is a hash, it is a root user. If it is a dollar, it is normal user or non-root user. I'm coming out of this also. So you are out of the container. Now, if you again do the docker ps -a, you will find the list of containers. Let me start another one. Docker start, and this is my container ID. And I will have web services related. I think I will have to say MDM. Okay, this I will start this. You can start the containers using the single command or the same command with multiple container IDs. It will start one after another. Likewise, even for the removal of the Docker images of the container, you can use the same single command to remove the images and as well as the containers. Now again, I will see the process status of all the containers. So here, this service is up, and this is up, this is up, and I have only two things which are not up. So this is old one, this is the old one. I will start these two also. Docker start and another one. I will see whether all are up or not. So I think I see the status is status of all the containers is up and running. All right, now I will have to see which port is accessible. So for that you need to have little bit understanding to the networking, like maybe networking knowledge. So here, if you look at this, the ports which are existed in these containers, it's specified here. In the case of DB2, I have DB2 port number 50,000. So in the case of this service, maybe some other service I have 2181 port, and for other container I see 7003, and I have other service something like. And there are a few other ports called exposed ports. So you will have to understand what is which port is exposed to the external internet. So you will have to understand whether the port is secured port or unsecured port. Normally, there are a few ports which are created by the app during the deployment. Will have one port, but that will be redirected to the exposed port. So maybe while developing your application, you may specify these details in the configuration, and configuration details will have it. Now, if I need to, actually I need to bring my Docker file to access my entire applications to access through the internet. So for that, I need to see whether the Docker file is available or the JSON file or YAML file. So these are all the different configuration files which are available in the market. You may want to explore them. Okay. Actually, I think I thought of covering the Kubernetes also. Looking at the infrastructure, maybe I have the limitation to access the Kubernetes server, but I will quickly show you how the Kubernetes looks like. I will stop the Docker topic here, and then I will move on to the Kubernetes. Maybe that I will cover in next 15 to 20 minutes. Just hold on a second. I'll connect to one of the server. Allow me for 30 seconds. All right, I connected to another server where I have the Kubernetes cluster is enabled. So before I move to the site, I would want to give you what is the main advantage of the Kubernetes. So one of the slide, sir, Srinivas sir, can you please go to the last slide, sir, the Kubernetes architecture. Oh, this is the last one, right? Okay. So the Kubernetes, having the kind of a deeper advantage over the Docker. So the Docker, we will have a limitation for creation of the containers and uses of the existing containers. That's it. And when we have the more number of users wanted to use the same resources, we will not be able to scale up, or we will not be able to stretch the resources. Meaning, there is no elasticity in the case of Docker infrastructure. That is the reason we have a new concept called Kubernetes. So this is a new technology introduced by the Google. the Kubernetes is one of the new technology trend, actually used for the elastic capacity. Here, only the difference here is on top of the Docker containers, we are creating another wrapper. We call that another wrapper as a pod. A pod is a kind of a small, tiny format of the Docker. This will increase capacity resource or help to the new execute environment the pod here. So here I have to show you for the the
Sir, your voice is not clear.
it
is also very low.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Is audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. In case of Docker, we use prefix called Docker for every command. So in the case of Kubernetes, we use kubectl as a prefix here. So I am using the command kubectl. Kubectl, Q-U-B-E-C-T. So the kube controller. So we have the similar commands like the Dockernetes, Dockers, kubectl. Sorry, type mistakes. Kubectl get pods. Here I'm giving a simple command. Like we have a list images in the case of Docker. We use the Docker ps -c. In the case of it is use the kubectl get pods because everything is wrapped in the form of pod, each pod. So we need to understand how many pods are there and how each pod is identified. Here, when I say the kubectl, it is it says like there is no resources, generalized resources given here. What I am saying here, exclusively there is another concept called namespace. Each pod is created under namespace. Now I'm going to specify the kubectl get pods, and I will specify some name here. I have my own naming. Maybe I would say -a instead of specifying one particular namespace. I am specifying all namespaces. So get pods -a is giving me the list of pods that is running here. Right. These are the different pods is in my environment. If you look at this, some of is having the namespace called cube system. Application developer provide the different name. There is also the storage classes for Kubernetes, where you run all your applications. Here, in this case, I am using the Rooksafe as one of the storage classes. There are other storage classes as well, like we have NFS is one of the another. Apart from this, there is a recent technology. Cassandra is also there is a new concept has came here for the storage purpose. Namespaces that is created. Now, what you are interested, how the elasticity is increased here. So my application, in this case, my application is divided into multiple pods, and thinking of each component of my application. See, the same pod is now created with the processing of here is I'm processing it, and the address related records is capturing, and another pod is trying to process. I mean to say, each capacity of the machine will try to provide the maximum utilization of the resources. So here, every time the pod will be created and will be closed when the process is completed. So in this case, all the completed process, all the completed pods are completed without any issues. But there is one more, maybe whenever you see some error in the pod running, then you will have this one. Again, you can identify the pod details using the kubectl describe commands. So kubectl describe. And describe what? The name of the pod. So you wanted to describe the pod. Here in this case, I'm giving the pod name and then followed by the namespace. Okay, kubectl describe MDM publisher. Okay, I need to provide the type here, describe pod. Okay, so this is how the pod details is created. Like this is how my pod is configured. So it tells me this pod is being created with this name identifier. Under the namespace, some name is given, and the priority of the pod is given. Maybe at this point of time it's 0, but that is a dynamic. While running the pod, that is given one IP. This is IP it is given, and there will be some ports here. The port that is exposed here is 9443, and as well as there is one more port for 4040. This is for Spark operations. We have the high volume data will be processed by the Spark engine. That is when we are assigning the another port with the 4040. When we are trying to configure with connected to the 9443, which is a secured port, and that will be routed to another port. I will show you at the maybe outside of this. Now, when I'm trying to find out the 9443, it is internally accessible, but that is not accessible external. Then how do I access my external services? Then I'm going to define kubectl find out the services, kubectl get svs. Ma'am, are you seeing my screen, ma'am? By any chance,
Sir, it is visible. You can continue, sir.
Okay, all right. So kubectl get svc, and then I wanted to find out these services specific to one namespace. I'm interested only on one namespace. So here it is giving me the list of services that is open to the public or open to the internet. Here, as I said earlier, my service, I'm interested in this service. The port number was given here like 9443, but the outside that is accessible as 31883. So this is the exposed port. Please note down that. So whenever you are deploying or developing an application, the application will have internal port, which is a secured one, and you will have another external port, which is maybe less secured one, but that will be covered by the internal security mechanism. So you need to use this port number to work with your internet. Okay, I'm using the 31883 port. Let me go back to my web page, see whether it is accessible or not. All right, so this web page 205 is my machine, the public IP, and I'm trying to connect to this. I'm trying to connect to one of the page through this port number. See this, if you look at my screen, 31883 is the port number. domain name of your machine. My app is accessible across the maybe internet, so I can log in and then I can do my work. All right. So this is how I wanted to show you like how this is working, like the Kubernetes side. So only the advantage, the main advantage of the Kubernetes is like the elasticity, the high capacity of utilizing the resources. Here, how much utilization we can specify, we can also specify by using the YAML files. YAML files will lets you to specify the configuration, saying that up to 80% of my resources can be used, something like that. Okay. All right. So yeah, with that, I think this is a very brief information that I wanted to share. The time is up. Actually, it's almost more than 2 hours, and I want to wrap this. Maybe if you have any questions, please ask me. I will try to address that. And I will take in maybe another session with with permission of VC sir and Kezia madam. Maybe one more technical session where like one application should be deployed, and we need to do hands-on. Maybe it's kind of lab work. I'll try to work out on the infrastructure side. Maybe you can also try on your side. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Students are also messaging me. Please arrange one more meeting with sir with the hands-on experience. So
Yes.
we'll plan for that, sir, in coming days if time permits for us.
Yes.
And if environment also permits, since they are saying that there will be a third wave when the children will be affected with it. And
sure,
our
madam.
exams are also going on from the next coming 2 weeks, within 2 weeks. So we'll see,
okay,
sir.
Okay. Sure, madam. You have any questions, madam, from any of
Yes.
the students? Maybe they can chat, or I can answer them.
Yes. Yes. Any students, if you have any questions, you please post on the chat, or you can directly ask. Unmute yourself and you can directly ask. Someone has raised their hand. Students, anyone?
Okay, maybe.
I hope
so
every student is very new to this topic.
Madam? Yes, madam. So this is actually very new topic, and then maybe confused topic like Dockers and Kubernetes, and they need to have a little more hands-on. Then only they will understand.
Yes. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your wonderful session. Really hands-on experience with all the examples and your code or hands-on experience you have shown. Now I request any student, please, if you want to ask any questions.
And Kezia Madam Garu,
and
all the faculty members.
Yes, sir. You are going to say something.
Yes, madam. I was saying, like, I would like to extend my thanks to VC sir, Sri Jagannath Garu, and all the faculty members, especially you, madam, for providing me an opportunity to meet all the students over the virtual enablement session. So we'll take it forward. Maybe one more session, maybe we will do it in the future.
Okay, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
So now I request Dr. T. Anita for a formal vote of thanks. Unmute yourself. Unmute. You are muted. Unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, one and all. I'm Dr. Anita, Assistant Professor, NSS Program Officer, Unit 2, University College of Arts and Commerce, Adhika Vinaya University. I'm happy to propose formal vote of thanks for the occasion of today's webinar, Absolute Dockers Coordinating CP4D, a journey towards cloud platforms. Especially thanks to our esteemed Vice Chancellor of Adhika Vinaya University, Professor M. Jagannath Rao Garu, We thankful to feel your vision and cooperation in all the activities of NSS. It is the backbone to spreading to strengthening of the university NSS wing. Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable presence of this webinar. I heartful thanks to our beloved Register sir and EC member Professor T. Ashok Garu, Adhika Vinaya University, Rajamahendravaram, for his valuable presence. Thank you very much, sir. I thankful resource person of this webinar, Mr. B. Yoganand, software architect, IBM. Thank you so much, sir, for your timely acceptance and cooperation and to deliver excellent and informative message. Thank you so much, sir. I wish to thank our executive council members of our university, Professor K.S. Ramesh Garu, Special Officer, Tadepalligudam, Adhika Vinaya University campus, and Dr. B. Jagan Mohan Reddy Garu for their encouragement and participation. Thank you very much, sir. In addition, I thank to principals of our campus colleges, Professor Teki Garu and Dr. Ramaneshwari Madam Garu and Persis Madam Garu and Kondur Subbarao Garu for their encouragement and cooperation. Thank you very much, sirs and madams. I thankful all the teaching and non-teaching staff of our Adhika Vinaya University, Rajamahendravaram for their supports. And I thank you all principals, program officers and participants to affiliated colleges from various educational institutions of the East and West Godavari districts. Thank you so much. I thank you all the print and electronic media persons to wide coverage of this program. And I thank the program officers of all our university, Rajamadi ma'am and Dr. S. Padmavalli ma'am and Mallipriya ma'am and Rahul Pal sir for their timely and cooperation. Finally, we are proudly feel the honest, hardworking commitment and dynamic leadership of our university NSS coordinator, Dr. Kejiyarani Madam Garu, convener of this today's webinar, absolutely Dr. Coordinator of CP4D, a journey towards cloud platform, and her continued support and encouragement for their grand success of this webinar. Thank you, one and all. Thank you, ma'am. Over to Kecharan.
Thank you, Dr. P. Anita. And once again, I thank all the members and all the students and all the officers who have contributed their cooperation to organize this webinar. And my special thanks to the resource person, MB Yoganand Garu, for accepting our request and coming over and giving a wonderful session, hands-on experience session. And we look forward for the one more session, sir, and with the time permits. Thank you, Ananda. We are closing the session.
So, students.